I'm Chris Brogan. I am so happy to be with fledgling new superhero author John Morgan with his new book, Brand Against the Machine, blah, 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 because it's like the longest subtitle ever. How to build your brand, cut through the marketing noise, and stand out from the competition. You have no idea how many people are going to ask you to remember that subtitle.
Yeah, and I don't.
No.
Already. Yeah. So I'm screwed from the get-go.
You know, and we did it with Trust Agents. It's like, it's longer than that one, and I don't ever remember it. And they're always asking me, and I'm like, I don't know, reputation and something. And,
yeah.
You know, so
well, I felt like Brand Against the Machine was such a good title that then I was like, subtitles, like what? Like, I put zero thought into it.
See, subtitles are all about, you know, convincing the salesperson that they should sell your book harder into the Barnes & Noble or the Books A Million in their neighborhood. And that's all it's for. And, you know, there's no other person who ever like goes, how to build your, and then buys the book because of the subtitle. It's just not how it works. But, you know, we're slaves to this, John.
That's true.
John, why does my website suck?
Well, I don't know that yours necessarily.
Well, I don't know. You told me it did. I'm reading it. 33.
But, yeah, well, I mean, the chapter is your website sucks because most websites do suck. I think because everyone thinks that their website's like this fancy brochure, you know, where let me tell you everything about me, and you know, it's like this. It looks like a flyer or a business card, and I think that websites, in my opinion, anyways, should be made for lead generation. You know, something that maybe builds that relationship or gets them on your email list, or you know, all those other different things that you can do. But most people, like, they'll come to me and they'll say, yeah, you know, my website doesn't work. And then I go to it and it's just crap. You know, it's crappy looking and there's nothing there that's actually valuable to their prospects. And that's why most of them actually do suck.
I liked your your chapter called Top Yourself. It was talking whole about, you know, no one talks about things or people that they don't care about. I mean, you did a lot to cover, you know, some interesting points in there. I liked that you talked about, you even gave some examples like Jiffy Lube and the like. Talk a little bit about how one tops oneself in the Brand Against the Machine world.
Yeah, well, I think that, you know, it's so easy for all of us to just settle and be average and be mediocre, and we get used to like what we're doing. And, you know, it happens to all of us. Even if you've had great success, at some point you're just going to kind of relax and, you know, ride that. And that seems okay, but eventually your clients get tired of it. So like Jiffy Lube, for example, I know nothing at all about cars except semi how to drive one. And, you know, the story I tell in the book is, you know, they went above and beyond fixing my car because they knew that there was no way I was going to be able to figure out what part I needed and how to get that installed. And, you know, they could just tell by looking at me, I was just going to drive it until it blew up. And so they saved me from that. And it was kind of going above and beyond because they certainly, in my opinion, at least going there, nothing against Jiffy Lube, I didn't think they gave a crap about me or anybody. You know, it's just clock in, wait till lunch, clock out, you know, that whole cycle. So the chapter Top Yourself is actually one of my favorites just because I think, you know, first of all, too often we think Zappos is the only company that does customer service. And you know, Zappos has become that cliched example, but we all have to do it. We all have to remember, wait a minute, we got to raise our standards. Sometimes we actually have to step back and say, regardless of how well I'm doing, can I do better? And I don't know that many companies actually ever ask themselves that question.
I think you might be right. One of the other chapters I thought was interesting was talking about the content explosion and the fact that there's just so much content out there that even that's not good enough anymore. So you gave some ideas on how to do a little bit better than just make a lot of content. I was curious to know if you...
Right. Well, I mean, the one of many reasons that I hate you, besides your hair, is how often you create content. Because I don't know how you do it. You like, it's like I believe you don't sleep, and it's just constant content. And you're one of the few, like, I can count on one hand. Actually, I could cut fingers off and still count on one hand how many people can consistently create good content. But the problem that happens is people start throwing this content out there, and it's just like regurgitation of stuff they've read, and there's nothing really new to it. And I get that, you know, there's no new information and all that stuff, but what people are really buying into is your perception, your opinions. So using you as an example, when Google Plus makes changes, we want to all go to you and say, okay, we get what the changes are, but what do you think? That's what people are buying, not just the content. And social media, because it's so easy to put out content, it kind of dilutes all of it because everyone's just going to retweet Mashable, you know, announcing that Google Plus has changes, and they think, oh, that's my content. That's not content. Your perception, your opinion is your content, but people are afraid to actually have a voice and say something.
How do you think people go from that to inspiring a great conversation? How does it go beyond, here's my opinion, to let's all talk about my opinion?
Well, I think it helps if your opinion goes against the grain. If your opinion isn't necessarily the popular choice, I think that certainly helps. I know you and I've seen many people like in our space, who've done a great job. I mean, our friend Scott Stratton, he's the voice of the people, right? He's going to say what's opposite of the normal, and what a lot of people kind of spit out there, and he's got that percentage of people then who gravitate towards that, so they love it, and it does sort of start that conversation. I think good content is content that starts a conversation. I think if someone reads the blog post and like, well, that was cool, and now they're on to the next thing, you failed. I think if you actually have to stop and think about it and let's get a dialogue going, that's when it wins. But I think it has to be more than just at the end of your blog post saying, what do you think? It still has to be something semi-thought-provoking.
I'm with you. Inside of Brand Against the Machine, there's a dirty little secret.
Yes, there is.
Do you want to share the secret, John?
Let's do it. This is the thing that baffles me the most. And in all the years that I've been working with businesses, I don't understand why more companies aren't using testimonials. It's the most underused weapon. People are going to believe what others say about you more than you're going to say it about yourself. Of course, you're going to brag about yourself. If I go out there and say, hey, my book's freaking awesome, well, I should think that. If I don't, then there's a big problem. So you've got to have the testimonials, and you have to use them in every single marketing piece you do. And the thing that drives me crazy, Chris, is I see people on their website, and it'll have, the little button, and it's like, click here to see what our clients are saying. No one is clicking that button. Put them on the homepage, make it right there in front of them. It's the best thing you've got, and you can't use too many. Because if you have 2 or 3, they think you got lucky. One's your sister, one's a cousin, and one's that one client, that you were able to beg into, buying your service or product. So you want to just hammer them with as many testimonials as you can get. And I learned this in real estate. I used to be a real estate agent, which talking about it brings up nightmares. But when I was in real estate, when we would get a call and someone said, hey, come list our house, the first thing we would do is send them a book full of testimonials. And by the time I got there, I didn't have to convince them of anything. They were sold. There was the proof, right? And I realized then, I was like, man, this is so easy. It's so much easier to sell stuff when you can actually show people, hey, look, it's good.
John, there's 2 chapters that sort of bounce against each other near getting closer to the end of the book. One is everything you do is branding, and the other's come as you are. And everything you do is branding. Of course, you're pointing out the fact that, it's not just what you're saying, it's what you do, it's all the other stuff around that counts as branding. And come as you are, you're saying, you really just have to be who you are. I think these 2 things together are scary. How do you help people navigate those 2 things?
Well, they're very scary because if who you are is a douchebag, you're screwed. Because now it's going to come out in a big way. I think you just have to be cautious sometimes of what you put out there. Like, there's a difference between I'm going to be very transparent and still keeping your focus on your audience. So what I mean by that is, Facebook and Twitter and these sites have become this wonderful place for people to complain about their problems. Here's everything I've got wrong with me. And, I've got a person here in my town who, not a competitor, but similar, kind of thing. And 50% of their tweets are about getting drunk, and the other 50% are about needing business. And it's like, it's pretty clear to see, what the problem is, right? But they're not even understanding that, wait, that's actually affecting my brand. People are paying attention to that. I know another gentleman who, sends out a tweet about how his refrigerator breaks and he doesn't have the money to fix it. And then the next tweet is, does anyone want to hire me? And it's like, no, we don't. We do business with confident, successful people. So that's the problem is, yeah, we want transparency, but we actually only want what we think is transparency, not the full thing. You know what I mean? So there's a line there. So like you said, it is scary. I think the challenge is just being consciously aware of it, because everything you do is going to have that effect.
I think it's definitely a way to look at it. I think that there's quite a disparate difference between what people think they're putting out there and what they're getting out there by the whole message. So you've certainly highlighted in the book. I could bother you for tons more, but this is about the length of video I'm willing to do. So John Morgan, Brand Against the Machine, congratulations on getting a book out there.
Thank you.
It's a lot of hard work. It's published by my friends at Wiley. And a couple people put some quotes on the back. I know 1 or 2 of them, I think. It's
Yeah.
good. Yep.
Hey, well, one or two of them are good, including the first one, which I'd like to think has officially made your career.
You know, frankly, I don't even have to write books anymore. I just have to write blurbs. So, I mean, this is one of my better blurbs. You know,
Full-time job.
You know, my favorite part of it. My favorite part of my blurb is, and there's value in keeping a notebook handy. You know, that's best-selling material right there. I'm going to be the New York Times best-selling blurb writer.
But hey, wait, while I've got you on video and all of your audience is watching this,
Go.
in your blurb you say that you changed part of your business after reading the book, but you have never told me what it is.
Still not telling you.
Son of a...
It's it's one of those things where it was like a great check. I sort of looked at it and I said, I'm not doing that. And I'm not telling you, because it's really about the equivalent of having my fly down, having spinach in my teeth, and having, you know, dated the girl no one else wanted to date all in one.
Wow.
So I'm going to just tell you that, you know, thank you. And, you know, if I ever make $1 million on that one little detail, I'll send you a pony.
That would be awesome. That's all I want.
That's all we all want is a pony.
It's the reason I wrote the book.
John Morgan, what's your website?
My website is johnmichaelmorgan.com.
It's the Michael that throws me. JohnMichaelMorgan.com.
There's too many John Morgans.
That's true. I mean, but you're the one who's branded against the machine, evidently.
That's true.
Should there be a machine and John Morgan standing at a conference, you'll know which one's John.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.